Quite a while ago now, I was living in the Twin Cities, and I had a couple of friends who love to rock climb, and they convinced me to buy a pair of rock climbing shoes, to get the little bag in which you have chalk and the harness that you use, and we went over to a gym that was a rock climbing gym, and we'd go over there regularly because I was always intrigued by rock climbing. And one of the things I learned early on as I was climbing around in these rock gyms with my buddies is that when you watch a rock climber, you often think that what makes them good at that task is arm strength and hand strength. And actually, that isn't true. What makes a rock climber really, really good is they know how to use their legs. They know how to position their feet and create on these rocks really great footholds. And they use their legs and the position of their feet on these footholds to help them navigate up the rock. It's all about finding the right foothold and using your legs. I've been thinking about that a lot because in the Bible, there's a lot of language around rock. In fact, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24, it talks about how the wise men, he built his house upon the rock. In Matthew chapter 16, Jesus looks at Peter and says, "Peter, you are the rock on which I want to build my church." You see, we all need footholds. And this week, we've been talking about something kind of sad. The reality of our church is that there are 2 times as many women who attend church than men. Men have sort of, over the last 50, 60 years, exodus the church to some degree. We want to give men a foothold so they feel more at home in the church. That's what this week has been all about. Well, folks, before we dive in, if you do a couple things for me, if you're watching on Facebook, would you check in at Calvary? Would you do that for me? For every check-in, we have a generous donor who's donating $5 to our Backpack Attack program that's feeding hungry kids here in Alexandria. We'd love for you to help us get the word out. Share this post, like it. If you're watching on Facebook, subscribe, hit the bell, sign up for notifications. If you're watching on Cable Access 181, would you invite a friend to watch with you tomorrow? Hey, we're talking about how men, for whatever reason, men often hate going to church. Let's be honest. And this has been a trend since the 1960s, actually. In 1952, a study was done of people who attend church. And in mainline churches, there was nearly a 50-50 split between men and women. And actually, the people who attended church during the 50s and 60s, they were younger than the average population in the U.S. It was during that phase in time where churches built gyms. They started sports leagues for men. They developed camps in the summer where young boys could go off into the woods. They were dedicated to what was called the social gospel, which had men actively serving the poor. And here's the thing. Now, today, there are oodles of organizations outside the church who are doing these sorts of things. And ever since then, we've seen a steady decline in the number of men who attend the church. And so today I want to talk about 6 footholds that the church could give men. That we as people who consider ourselves people of faith, there are 6 things I think we could do to give men more of a foothold in church. And the first is this. If we believe that if the church would to see itself more boldly as bold innovators who care more about their effectiveness. Here's what you know about the church. Sometimes ministry in the church can be sort of bland. It can seem sort of unorganized. It often doesn't seem as though there's a clear defined mission. And men see that maybe quicker than others. You see, men want to see the church as a place that makes a difference. What if we as the church were to commit ourselves to being more bold, to taking more bold risks? I'm guessing there would be some men who would gravitate towards an organization like that. The second thing I want to suggest is that we attend more acutely as the church to the quality of what we do. Here's what you and I know. Church, Well, some churches can be kind of corny, can be kind of hokey. The services can seem sort of half-baked, unorganized, unprofessional. I think men today, their schedules are busy, their lives are hectic, and if they're going to invest an hour of time, especially on Sunday morning, they want to know that it's worth their while. You see, men care about quality. The third thing I want to suggest is something that we've tried to do here at Calvary, is to create an environment where you come as you are. Man, I remember when I was a kid, I'd have to put on my Sunday clothes. You remember Sunday clothes? You took them off the hanger, you put them on Sunday morning, and the minute you got home, you took them off. Well, here's what you and I know. We live in a different world today. We want to invite men to come and to just be as they are. They don't have to dress up. We'll accept you just as you are. I wonder if we had more of that kind of culture, if we'd find more men coming through the door. The fourth thing I want to suggest to you is that men who maybe are a little uneasy about church would really enjoy the opportunity on Sunday mornings to be anonymous, to not have to be introduced, to be able to kind of glide in under the radar, to take their seat in the back and just simply worship and not have to be called out. I wonder for men if being more anonymous would help them have a more inviting worship experience. Here's the other thing we know about men. We are visual learners often. We look and we learn by using our hands, by seeing things visually. I think a church that embraced visuals as a way for men to engage in a life of faith might engage men in a more effective way. And while we're at that, I think visually, I wonder if the church is often not as appealing to men as it is to women, simply because of the decor and the formality of it all. And finally, here's what I think men probably need more than anything else, is they need other men who are in leadership or who take the church seriously. They need other men who they can relate to and who they can look up to. They need pastors who make mistakes like they do, who tell stories about life experiences that they've experienced. They need leaders in the church who they can relate to. You see, here's the thing. This week we've been talking about something that we all know is true, that there aren't as many men engaged in the life of faith in church as there are women. What if we were to take a risk and to give men the footholds they need to grow in faith? What would that look like? That's your challenge. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow night.
No height, no depth, no life for final breath could ever separate us from your love. No failure, no mistake, no loneliness or pain could ever separate us from your love. Could ever separate us from your love. On the other side of everything I'm afraid of, you are standing with your arms wide open, wide open. Even in my deepest doubts and wonder, you are standing with your arms wide open, wide open. I'm healed, made strong, I found where I belong. Forever I'm alive now in your love. I'm changed, unchained by your amazing grace. Forever I'm alive now in your standing with your arms wide open, wide open. Even in my deepest doubts and wonder, you were standing with your arms wide open, wide open. It's wide open. If I make my bed in darkness, if I try my best to hide, you know the farthest ocean, you give the morning its light. I can't run from your presence, there's no place that far. So I run to you, my Savior, there's safety in your arms. If I make my bed in darkness, if I try my best to hide, you know the farthest ocean, you give the morning its light. I can't run from your presence, there's no place that far. So I run to you, my Savior, there's safety in your arms. Yeah. Safety in your arms. On the other side of everything I'm afraid of, you are standing with your arms wide open, wide open. Even in my deepest doubts and wonder, you are standing with your arms wide open, wide open. On the other side of everything I'm afraid of, you are standing with your arms wide open, wide open. Even in my deepest doubts and wonder, you are standing